Hi, I'm ED-SKaR, and today I have my good friend, Ratman.
Hi.
And we are following on from a challenge that's been floating around YouTube recently, actually in other places as well, where someone makes a piece of terrain for a 40k or other tabletop game out of a water pistol. Now, we as Nerfers have plenty of scrap Chinese plastic littering our houses and garages and lofts and spare rooms.
Conservatory. Greenhouse.
Back garden, greenhouse. I'm just saying we've got a lot of it, okay? So I don't want to go out and buy more just to have the water gun to make some scenery out of. But what we do have is a bits box with just random bits of parts and stuff. I should also point out that this is one box. We have 4 boxes to go through. We're just going to make some scenery. We're not limiting on size, so it can be barricades and like small bulkheads, or it can be a massive building. It doesn't really matter. We've basically started at this point, and what we should actually do is set up the camera and start the time lapse. That's up on the cross bolt, I think. And a cafetiere handle. I guess that's free game as well. That's
lid.
The rest of the cafetiere. We've got a whole cafetiere in here, I think. This is a gel ball little toy.
Like an ox-tara. That's real.
That's good for some control. Recon? Stock?
Yes. Marvin the Martian Reagan. Exactly what it looks like to me.
Right, would you like to show off some of the things that you've got?
Bit of a barrel break and a bit of a vagabond. So I'm currently working on crane.
Oh, you're making a crane. That's cool.
Yeah. So this barrel,
The extended barrels from the Vagabond.
satellite dish, some kind of comms, some kind of maybe a big gun. Look at that. That's even better.
Got the tri-shot rocket launcher, which is going to be some kind of tower. I've slightly cheated with this part because this is a 3D printed part that I made to replace the cylinder on a Mega Mastodon. So it is a Nerf part, and I haven't used it. It's a failed print, unfortunately. You can see that there. This is almost cheating, I think. Paint this, put this down on the table, and it would be a suitable bit of terrain.
Put my crane on the top of it.
You know what?
There you go.
Do you want that bit?
We could do that, couldn't we?
You can have that for your
It
crane.
needs something on the end of the crane. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. But.
So we've got a bunch of options, and now we're going to break out the tools. We've got Dremels and knives. We've got a hot glue gun somewhere. We can take things apart and put things back together as we please. So let's get on with that.
Let's do some stuff.
Would you like to show how far you've got?
Okay, so hopefully this isn't going to fall apart. So I'm thinking about using the tube to try and roll it around, either hydraulics or maybe it's some kind of a, I don't know, like flamer drill, something fancy like that.
Yeah,
It's an absolute unit at the moment though.
It is, firstly, it is huge, but it looks really cool. I think we've started with the best in this case, because that is probably the coolest thing that we've
The
got
fact that
on the
it's
table.
still got all the articulation in it.
Would you like to tell them the difficulty you're having?
Well, we're doing it all with glue gun glue, which is rubbish. But
Yeah, the hot glue's not being kind to us.
no, it's.
So what I've been getting up to, I have actually got 3 pieces on the way. Mainly because my first piece, again, issues with hot glue. But I've spent most of the time trying to hot glue this, and it just will not stick. So
He really hasn't. He spent most of the time moaning about trying to hot glue.
I've spent most of the time complaining about hot glue. There we go. The truth comes out. I don't like hot glue. I'd literally rather use super glue for this. Currently working on bits of plastic flying everywhere. Is, I'm not sure, some kind of pumping system, acid pump.
Yes.
I had a bit of plastic that I just dropped on the floor, so I'm going to have to go and find that. I'll glue that back on, glue this together. Maybe some kind of acid tank. Anyway, I have ideas, but that's my next go-to. As you can see, if nothing else, we have made an absolute mess of this entire place. There is bits of screws, there's glue on the table, there's chunks of plastic. It's a disaster, and it's amazing. At this second, third interval, would you like to show your progress?
I made this just oh dear. Yeah.
It needs regluing.
It needs regluing, some sort of generator or something. I imagine it's spinning, but yeah, that was quite cool. Although now I'm kind of thinking it looks like the Capital City from Oblivion. Satellite has got a different base because the other one fell off, and I ended up reusing it for this.
So this is interesting. We allowed, I have some sheet plastic, and I said that I was allowing the use of that plastic for basing only. We're not allowed to use it as a material, but we're allowed to use it for basing, and that's what Paul's done here.
This one I'm particularly proud of. That's just done.
That's just done because that's the barrels from the Zerg Ball blaster.
So that bit's been super glued. I'm hoping when I cut this cable tie off in a bit, the bowden tube won't push this out. I've put glue there. And then I've made up a bit of a back end for ballast, just because it will keep falling forwards.
So to see what I've been getting up with, you can see the snow that I've been making, because I've gone to the extent of using bicarbonate of soda and super glue because hot glue wasn't working, super glue wasn't working, so bicarbonate and super glue is at least working some, although I may have to go back and strengthen up some of these bits. So because Paul has his barrels that he just dumped on the ground and called it a bit of terrain, I have the front end of a crossbolt that I've flattened off the base, and I'm calling it a bit of terrain with no further... Can you stop moving the camera while I'm talking? I'm going to do no further effort, and that's a piping system of some description.
Yeah, the top bit.
Under hive vents. I finished up this piece, which I think looks pretty nice. Once that gets painted, that's going to look very Star Wars, I think. Very interested in, this has caught my attention, and I'm just putting loads of greeble on it. I don't know what it is. I was thinking about having it as an underground entrance, but then I've blocked it off with that.
The magazines from the minigun.
Yes, that was the ball reservoir for that. He's using the recess as working time.
Just doing random things on the table.
Yeah, all the scraps. It's actually that's kind of a good way to greeble. It's Anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to do one last little section. We're going to go for the stretch home, finish up the pieces we're working on, and then we'll call it there. We'll have a look at our finished parts and we'll give them a spray to see what they look like. Alright, we're finally done with the assembly phase. Given the amount of hot glue, oil, grease, baking soda, bicarbonate of soda, whatever it is, and various other things, what we'll do is we'll rinse off these, give them a spray with terracotta in the morning, we'll let them dry overnight.
The hot glue gun was jank, and if we were doing it proper, I think we'd...
The hot glue, it's worked in some places, but it's very much failed in a number of other places. It's been at least 2 hours that we've been at this. If we'd have spent the entire day just carefully making this, neater cuts, better, like using the appropriate glue in each time, we'd have a better product, of course, but it wouldn't be as fun.
There's a particular reason as to why you sand and prime.
This is why you sand before you put paint down, and this is why you put like thin layers of spray rather than just globbing it on as thick as you can.
Pooling, it's fine.
It's So some of this has come out better than others, but we are sort of speed building, so it's not a massive problem.
And also hot stop everywhere. It's messy.
Yeah, hot glue. But we've got the paints out. We've got some metallics. We've got some kind of desaturated dark tones for kind of the grim dark vibe. So we're pretty much done now in terms of throwing together some haphazard, just about good enough to use terrain. This is certainly not the best terrain I've ever made.
The painting process really went against the grain with me. Just rushing.
Particularly some of the spray paint work that we've done is quite poor because it's been rushed through.
Yeah, I mean, something like this, I'm used to sending hours on, not 20 minutes. But I mean, there you go.
Some of this has actually come out like these two for me are kind of my favourites. They've come out looking pretty good, and I kind of want to go over them, take more time of it, and actually bring them out to make them look a little bit better. So the crane looks pretty cool.
The tube I wasn't expecting to paint up, but I've done that yellow.
That's
if I had more time, I'd have done black cross hatches all the way along it.
Yeah.
And put a bit of red detailing on there. And then the base, I've got like a green dry brush just around the bottom to try and make mossy effects. I think it kind of proves the point though that you can knock something together.
Actually, that's a good point.
If we'd done any of these with effort, I think it would look amazeballs. I mean, the fact that we can produce something that looks, like a crane
from a distance.
In 2 hours.
If you're not paying attention, that in the background is just a really cool crane.
Yeah, I mean, so that was what, 2 hours build time. Say
the entire thing.
Half an hour paint time on that one alone, if you tot it up.
Yeah. So the entire thing is about 3 hours, maybe pushing 4 hours, including everything that we've done between two people, and we've got some reasonable attempts. But also, there's
oh yeah, well I mean that's just a bit of sanding in it.
Yeah, so that would have to be sanded and repainted.
I also think because we kind of limited ourselves to only using bits from the parts bins, you were kind of hands tied for finding something to fill that hole in. Whereas normally I think you would have used a piece of card, wouldn't you? But the card stock would have...
Absolutely, that's a good point. Having access to, firstly, generic supplies like flat plastic and card. There's some scenery that I've made that I've used the inside of an egg box.
Yeah.
Like, take the lid of an egg box, that rough texture, cut whatever shape, glue that on, paint that, dry brush it. Takes dry brushing really nicely. You can make that look like all sorts of things. But also, I have a 40k. I have a massive 40k and fantasy tabletop war game stuff bits box, and going through that to find greebles, to find wiring, to find control panels that just here and there just adds to the piece. But we've limited ourselves to not being allowed to use that in today's video, just to kind of prove the point that just gluing a few bits together and giving it a spray and a dry brush, that's at least something.
I'm in love with this terracotta paint. It looks beautiful. I mean, if I bring this into shot, where I've tried to make it metallic, this to me just screams Sector Mechanicus. It's a rusty brown, you know, like it's been there for decades and it's sat through sandstorms and that kind of thing. I love that.
Yeah.
I really do.
And if you were to make a whole bunch of scenery using that kind of light brown undercoat or even a darker brown as your priming layer, not only does that give you a base coat for just about everything, it's a prime layer, it's a base coat, it's decent for dry brushing on top of because it looks like worn rusted metal. But even if you then come in with some colour, like I've put this kind of grey blue here, just put that on kind of messily and I was stippling it with a sponge to show some of the brown through that. It just looks old and
it looks like
dirty
rusted copper kind of.
Yeah.
I really like the Sector Mechanicus style scenery, and I really like the desert, arid.
And if I ever do any gameplay on this, like if we get a Necromunda campaign running in the physical world rather than online, we can use some of this and we can see how it looks neatened up. All that being said, I'm ED-SKaR, always have been.
I'm Ratman.
Thank you very much for watching.
Goodbye.